War, starting at midnight, will never be the same. This is The Life and Death of Colonel Blimp. Hey!
Hey!
Welcome to Seen and Heard.
This is the podcast where the two of us, I'm Greg,
I'm Jackie,
go through the Sight and Sound Top 100 Greatest Films of All Time list. Everybody knows this is the only list that matters. No, whoever on Letterboxd doesn't count, and also the AFI doesn't count. So this is like the list. And you can't tell us otherwise, okay? This week we are doing from 1943, which is crazy. 1943, right in the middle of World War II.
It's one of the things that makes this movie so special. It really is.
Yeah.
But we'll get into that.
This is The Archers, The Life and Death of Colonel Blimp.
For those of you who don't know who the Archers are, it was the directing, writing, and producing team of Michael Powell and Emmerich Pressburger.
Jackie, what have you been watching?
You know, last night I went to see the 400 Blows.
You did?
Yeah, and there was someone who looked just like you who was there.
But they didn't have a mustache. I think that was the key. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, 400 Blows at the Los Feliz Vintage. And it was so great seeing it on the big screen. It really was. It was super fun. I loved the print. I thought it was really just classic. It was really scratchy and, just it's what it's what we all went there for, right? Is to see that really scratchy print.
And this was your first French New Wave film, right?
No.
Last night?
See, I can't tell when you're joking because you don't change the tone of your voice at all. No, but I love 400 Blows. But this is my first time seeing a French New Wave film on the big screen.
Really?
No, I saw La Piscine. Does that count?
I don't think that's really New Wave, is it?
Not really. I don't know.
It kind of doesn't. I love that movie, though.
I liked it.
Yeah, I saw your kind of low rating on Letterboxd. Actually, I really like that one. But I feel like it doesn't really fit in with the whole...
No.
It is French, and it is from the 60s.
Yes, but strictly New Wave. This was my first one in the movies. And
Wow.
it was so fun.
It was, yeah.
It was really fun.
It's a great one.
I saw Red Rocket.
Oh, the Sean Baker movie.
Sean Baker movie.
And?
I really love his movies. I really, really love his movies. And I liked this. It was a great time. Fantastic. I laughed a lot. But I was kind of telling you this yesterday. I think my problem with it is I like unlikable characters. I love movies that have
Joker.
No, but I like movies that have unlikable protagonists or when protagonists do bad things. I'm fine with that, obviously. But I think my problem with this one is just he's the same level of unlikable the whole time. It doesn't start from okay, he's kind of unlikable and then he gets really unlikable, or he's not that unlikable and then he gets really unlikable. It's literally the same amount of just bad person the whole time, which makes for a good comedy. It was funny, but I don't have a connection to it like I do Florida Project or...
That one's so good.
Another level. What about you? What have you been watching?
Well, besides 400 Blows last night, which, I saw that in a film class, in an auditorium. So it was a movie screen. So I felt like I saw it in a movie theater before. It was really a movie theater classroom hybrid. But yeah, I mean, I asked you after the movie about how you could still stand up for thinking that Godard is better than Truffaut after seeing something.
Did I ever say that?
Yeah, I feel like we had that conversation.
I never said Godard's better.
Well, maybe I asked which one you personally fall more towards, Godard, Truffaut, and you were Godard. Which is fine.
I don't think I said that.
You did. You definitely did. And it's fine. But come on, you watch 400 Blows, and it's Godard never had that.
Okay. No, here's the thing. First of all, I don't remember saying that. I genuinely don't.
Oh, you said it.
Maybe I've just seen more Godard movies, honestly.
Yeah, he has a lot more.
He has a lot of movies.
Yeah.
But I've seen all of the Antoine Douanel movies and I love most of them. I just don't like the last one. It's really not good. The only good thing about Live on the Run is that he has a son in it. His son is kind of grown up because he's a baby in the third one. And it's really sweet seeing him with a kid, but that's it. Yeah. What else?
Beyond 400 Blows, I watched a movie called Five Fingers of Death. So lately, I'm trying to fill gaps in my cinematic knowledge. And I realized that 70s kung fu movies was something that was missing in my education so far.
Yeah.
So watched that and honestly had a really, really great time. It was kind of the movie that made the kung fu movie craze. It was the first one that crossed over. It's a movie studio out of Hong Kong called the Shaw Brothers Studio. And their output from like the 60s through the 80s, they made like hundreds of kung fu movies. And it's like what they're known for. And Tarantino, of course, like ripped all of them off for like Kill Bill and stuff. But so yeah, I watched that one, which is like one of the first big ones to like come to America and stuff, and had a great time. And then I also finished the Beatles Peter Jackson documentary, Get Back, on Disney Plus. I started it like when it came out, like back before Thanksgiving.
How many episodes is it?
It's 3 episodes, but the episodes are like they're like 3 hours long each.
Geez.
So it's like 9 hours.
Wow. And
you know, it's footage of them just kind of sitting around and talking, which is amazing. So the footage is really amazing. Like to see this after all these years, this film has been in a vault. You get to see their creative process. You literally see them sitting down and writing these songs and like
that's crazy.
Doing it on the fly. It's such an amazing historical document. Like you can't even put a value on that.
Right.
But I do have a gripe with Peter Jackson's handling of the footage, which was shot on 16 millimeter. And it sounds like I'm nitpicking at this point, but it's actually a really big deal. Shot on 16 millimeter film. So it's supposed to look grainy. It's supposed to be have this beautiful film look to it. Mm-hmm. And he used DNR, which is digital noise reduction, that just smooths all the grain out. So what you get instead is people look waxy. The whole thing kind of looks digital and like overly smooth. And it was driving me fucking crazy. And I don't know why anyone in their right mind would take this beautiful historic footage and as the sort of like gatekeeper of this footage,
right?
It's your responsibility to handle it well and not completely fuck up the look of the film. So that was a huge bummer. I think he did a good job otherwise, mostly in terms of like putting it together, because he had like 50 or 60 hours of footage that he condensed into like 9 hours and kind of had to like shape a narrative out of it. But yeah, it's amazing. Have you seen any of it?
No.
It's amazing. Yeah. It's a big time commitment.
Yeah.
I watched it in chunks because I don't always have 3 hours to sit down to watch one episode of something.
If they're going to do it episodic, though, I wonder why they made each episode 3 hours.
Yeah, I feel like he should have at least cut them in half. I get the mentality of like, oh, you need to just like take time to like get absorbed into it, but no one has. It's like watching the Lord of the Rings movies because you have 3 of them and they're like 3 hours.
3 hours.
It's like that's maybe too much. Yeah. But it was really, really special.
Cool.
Yeah.
Let's get into this week's movie because it's phenomenal.
It's so good. This is what you guys came here for, to talk about Colonel Blimp. So we're going to do it here on Seen and Heard.
The Life and Death of Colonel Blimp was released in the United Kingdom in 1943. It's directed by the producing, writing, and directing team of Michael Powell and Emmerich Pressburger, often called The Archers, based on the name of their production company, The Archers. The film is based on a cartoon strip by David Lowe. And the film is this epic, decades-spanning story of the life of a British general. His name is Clive Candy, played by Roger Livesey. And it's divided into 3 sections that encompass his military career: the Boer War in 1902, World War I, and World War II. During the Boer War, he takes a trip to Berlin to clear up some propaganda regarding the British, and he meets and befriends a Prussian soldier, Theo Kretschmar-Schuldorf, played by the great Anton Walbrook. And their friendship only gets stronger through the years despite their countries being enemies. He also meets a British governess, Edith Hunter, played by Deborah Kerr, whom he realizes he loves only after her and Theo become engaged. Deborah Kerr also plays the 2 other women in his life, Barbara, his wife, and eventually his driver during World War II, Angela. Despite the title, he does not die in the end. Instead, he graciously accepts that his old world ideals about British chivalry might be out of date in the age of Hitler. So the British Army was very against this film being made. And some believe Churchill like thought that it was a caricature of him. Because I don't know. He's bald. He's kind of chubby, but only in the later years of his life.
Did Churchill have a mustache? Maybe. I think he did. No? Okay.
No, but he was bald and he was like very British, and he fought in the Boer War and in World War One. So he really I think he kind of thought it was based on him and making fun of him. But yeah, the War Office, the Ministry of Information, they gave them a really hard time. They told them please don't make this movie. We don't support it. And they thought it was a satire of the British Army. And yeah, not really a good time to have a sympathetic German character right in the middle of World War II. It's so I'm thinking of okay, Casablanca, right? That was made during World War II. But this one feels so much more important, the fact that it was made during World War II.
Yes.
It blew my mind. It really did. And originally they wanted Laurence Olivier to play the part of General Candy. I always get mixed up because it's Colonel Blimp, but he's General Candy. See, it's not really based on the comic strip. It's literally just taking his walrus mustache and his pompous Britishness. And that's the character we have at the end, kind of. And then we see his life and what led him to kind of become that.
Yeah, and I think it's a reference because no one today, especially not in the UK, knows this Colonel Blimp comic strip.
No.
And so I think a lot of people are confused of wait, what? Where's the blimp in this movie?
Yeah, it's really funny. But okay, so they wanted Laurence Olivier, but he was in the army. So they asked the War Office, can we take him out to make this movie? And they said no. So yeah, instead we have Roger Livesey, who does an incredible job.
He does height.
What?
Just kidding. I'm kidding.
God. I was about to throw hands. I think that he anyway, we'll talk about that. This was the first Archer's picture, under their production company.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh.
And in case you guys don't know, Michael Powell, he's British. He was a screenwriter. He worked with Hitchcock. He made B movies, or as they were called, quota quickies in the day.
I love that.
Quota quickies, isn't it hilarious? So yeah, he's British, but Pressburger is was Hungarian. He was a former journalist, violinist, short story writer, and he moved from Hungary to Germany to work in the film industry. He was a screenwriter, and then he fled when the Nazis came to power. And in their kind of duo, he's credited with doing a lot of the writing. And they made some of the best British films of all time.
So you say. Just kidding. Yeah, I mean, you look up any list of the great British films or great British directors, and pretty much Powell and Pressburger are the top of the list. I mean, that doesn't get much more prestige than The Archers.
Right. And just to I'm sorry I'm going back, but we talked a little bit about why Winston Churchill would be offended because of this Colonel Blimp character being so funny. And the creator of the Colonel Blimp character, David Lowe, said, "Blimp is a symbol of stupidity, and stupid people are quite nice."
Yeah.
And I thought that was so funny.
So the character was created as a satire of the sort of British reactionary opinion at the time, because 30s and 40s in Britain, there was so much happening and so much kind of change, and people were very quick to have opinions about everything. And the fact that this Blimp character was created to be this kind of just shooting from the hip, shooting off at the mouth kind of character.
Yeah.
It's that was his whole vibe.
Yeah.
And so this movie kind of, it's funny because they didn't look at the comic strip and be like, oh, let's make this into a movie.
Right.
That didn't factor it into it later.
Right.
In
but
fact,
what about his look?
Yeah.
Sure.
No, the look is down to a T. When
Yeah.
you see Roger Livesey as Candy with the walrus mustache, he's bald, he's rotund.
Yeah.
That's Colonel Blimp.
Yeah.
In appearance, and sort of by the end, he does kind of slightly become this, more human version of the Blimp cartoon.
Yeah, no.
But yeah, he was the movie. Do you know the genesis of the movie?
A little bit, but please expand.
So they had made a couple movies before this. This is their first really truly huge movie. And the 40s for them was insane because you had this in no particular order. You had this, you had Black Narcissus, you had Matter of Life and Death. You had The Red Shoes. So it was like just classic after classic.
Question,
Yeah.
Matter of Life and Death, is that before this movie?
No, it was after. It was a couple movies after, I think. I think that was like 1945.
Because it's also a World War II story.
Yeah. I have it somewhere up there. I can't look it up right now. It was a couple years after this. It is a World War II story, but not as
involved.
No,
as
it's
this.
a fable.
Like,
it's like a fable. It's like a fairy tale. But so they were making, just before this, they made a movie called One of Our Aircraft is Missing, which I have not seen. And just before that, they had made The 49th Parallel. So in one of those movies, I forget exactly which one, but there was a scene. It was a war movie, and there was a scene with an older general, and there was just a comment of like there was a line in the movie about him being old and like what it was like to be old. And then the editor, who was actually David Lean, edited this movie, who went on to become David Lean of Lawrence of Arabia and Bridge on the River Kwai and stuff. He told them like, hey, actually, like they actually cut the scene from the movie, but he's like, you could actually make a whole movie out of that line. And so that was the genesis for this. Yeah. So I don't know at what point the comic strip factored into it, but it wasn't like the genesis of the movie.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Initial thoughts.
Well, okay, so I had seen this about 10 years ago, which I feel like I say for all these movies we're doing. I saw it about 10 years ago, and I had seen The Red Shoes prior to this, and I had seen Black Narcissus prior to this. And this was my second. So I rewatched it 2 days ago. I hadn't seen it in like 10 years, and I just loved it both times. Like, I know we briefly chatted about our thoughts of the beginning of the movie, and we'll get into that in a second. But when I first saw this, I was very like thrown for a loop, like when it starts, because you're kind of grasping at like, wait, what's the tone here? Like, what is this movie?
This counts for initial thoughts.
Yeah, okay, it does. I guess it does. But it starts because there's this wraparound story of it's in present day, and you have these characters that are part of this home guard who are responsible for doing this training mission that Candy set up.
Yeah, and the Home Guard was basically like the army in London to defend London in case of an invasion.
A lot of times it was people that couldn't get into the army themselves, so it was kind of just like a lot of hanging around, and there's a lot of like people playing grab ass and stuff in this, tripping over each other and shenanigans. Yeah. And, that's how the movie starts off.
Yeah.
You're like, wait, what is this?
Yeah. And it's like, where's Blimp? Like, I was just waiting.
Yeah. And so you meet him in this Turkish bath, and of course their whole thing is the new drill, for this drill, war is gonna start at midnight. And they get it in their head like, no, let's just do it early and take them by surprise, and let's play dirty. Yeah,
because like the enemy doesn't wait till the agreed upon time to invade.
We're talking about Nazi Germany here. So they catch Candy off guard in the Turkish bath and kind of ruffle his feathers, and he's like
so funny,
very upset that he has to do this now and he can't wait till midnight.
Can I play the clip?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's play that clip.
It's just so funny. It's the amount of times they say sir to each other, like they're yelling at each other but they're saying sir. I'll play it.
What's going on here?
Invasions.
But you damned young idiot, war starts at midnight, haven't you been told?
Oh yes, sir. That's why we're here.
But may I ask on what authority?
On the authority of these guns and these men, sir.
Authority? Authority? How dare you, sir? How dare you? Get out of here, sir, you and your gang of awful militia gangsters. Get out!
So yeah, I mean, you have that scene, and it's basically the whole movie summed up if you think about it.
He's so put out.
Get into it. Yeah, he's so put out that they broke the rules, basically. Yeah. But yeah, wait, what were we talking? We were talking about how it's off-putting. It really is. Like, I was very confused. It's like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Like,
well, let's get tell me your initial thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, if we're talking about the beginning, Tapestry, love it.
Oh my God, the opening credits,
is phenomenal. It's like, it's playful, but also like traditional and goofy. It's like, it's the whole movie. It's the tapestry of this story, really. And it's like the credits are written into it or sewed into it. It was great. Anyway, that scene happens. And yeah, I was confused. I was really confused. I had to rewind it. I thought for sure I missed something. I rewound it to the start of the movie. But
I love your
okay.
dedication in this. You're like, no, I'm going to comb every inch of this.
Oh yeah. You know how long it took me to watch this movie?
How long?
Easily 4 hours.
Really?
Easily.
Wait. Okay. Because, I know you went back and then I know you're pausing to take notes, which I do too. But are you doing anything else? Like, are you
I
researching?
hit on the subtitles. Sometimes I go back if I miss something because I don't like looking at subtitles on an English movie because it really distracts me for some reason.
Same. I don't like it either.
It really distracts me. But then like they're talking very pompous and like they're talking very quick. So sometimes I had to like go back and turn it on and I don't know. Anyway. My main initial thought was my utter and complete like shock realizing that it was the same actor playing not Colonel Blimp, General Candy the whole time. Like it was in the World War II sequence. So like he's old, right? And then we have him young, and then World War I comes along.
Middle age.
I'm sorry, World War I bit is when I realized, not World War II. When he's middle age, yeah. Because he looks like the old man.
Wait, you didn't know in the Boer War section that was the same actor?
No.
Really?
Yeah.
Even though he had the same voice?
I know, yeah. No, I didn't.
Because let's talk about that for a second,
Okay,
right? The
his
aging
voice.
makeup.
Oh.
Oh.
We're talking about his voice. Aging makeup, phenomenal. It puts the Irishman to shame.
I was about to bring up the
Sorry,
Irishman.
Marty. I love you, but like, how? How is it so good? How
Yeah.
is it 1943?
The makeup is so good. The only tell in that bathhouse scene is the side
Yeah,
view. You can kind of see the
see,
hairline.
yeah.
But
Who
Who
cares?
cares? And also, I think it speaks to him as an actor. Like, yeah, it looks great.
So
but
good.
The fact that he can play this
Exactly.
like 60-something when he was in his 30s.
Because he is different. That's why I was surprised, because he's so different when he's playing the younger version of himself. His voice doesn't sound the same.
Oh,
It
sounds the
changes
same
a
to me.
little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's not as shouty when he's young.
So that's saying something about Roger Livesey, I think. Like, phenomenal job. Phenomenal. Sorry, that sounds like Trump when I say that. No, really, like, I was blown away.
So, after the 4.5 hours it took you to watch the movie.
Oh, another initial thought I had, like, as it was going, is this man's voice is so beautiful, especially when he's in his 30s, the Boer War. His voice was like velvet. I really loved his voice.
Yeah.
And it was so funny because I was watching Martin Scorsese's introduction to this movie on Criterion Channel, and he mentions in that little video that people told Roger Livesey that he wouldn't work in movies because his voice was just so weird and unique. But it's such a good voice.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I think when you realize that it's a war movie without war in it, it's such a sweet relief. It's such a warm moment, I think.
Yeah.
Just good feelings while watching this movie.
Yeah, agreed.
Really good
Were you
feelings.
expecting like a more traditional
Yeah,
war
I thought it
movie?
was a war movie.
Yeah.
And then when you realize it's not, you're like, okay, I get
Like,
what
it's a
they're
love
doing.
Story. It's a buddy story. It's a love story. It's
Yeah.
longing.
All the characters
Yeah.
are so great.
Yes.
The acting is A+. Great.
It's like
I loved
B-.
it.
I'm just kidding. I'm sorry. I gotta stop doing that. Agreed. Across the board, it's amazing. It's technically amazing.
Yeah.
The fact that this is 1943
Blows my mind.
It blows my mind because this is why I do think like Powell and Pressburger are among my favorite directors because everything I've seen of theirs feels 20 years like
Yeah.
ahead of its time
Yeah.
or 30 years ahead of its
Yeah.
time. And this was made in 1943. Like,
Incredible.
It feels so modern in every way. It looks beautiful,
Mm-hmm.
shot on this beautiful Technicolor film. The whole thing, the acting is very natural. It's natural in like a. Let's talk about the acting for a second.
It's natural in that it doesn't take anything too seriously. And that's the
Yeah.
point of the movie. It's like, it's not, I wouldn't call this movie a satire because I don't think it is. I
No.
think it's just real people realizing like the folly of the world.
Yeah, I agree. I think maybe the wraparound segment is there's a little satire in there.
A little
A
satire.
little nod to the comic strip, but
I think it's when you're not sure what's happening. Yes, I did think it was a satire when I didn't know what was happening. But once you do know that, oh, it's just an army exercise, like, I think it's funny. I think it's just comedic.
yeah, agreed. You know, what's funny is this movie, so it came out in 43 in the UK. It didn't come out till 45 in the US.
And it was cut.
They recut it and they
For, like,
retitled it.
To what?
It became The Adventures of Colonel Blimp or just Colonel Blimp. So one or the other, they use both titles.
Stupid.
And so this movie runs 160 minutes, which is nearly 3 hours, and they cut it down to 150. Oh, sorry, this version runs 163. They cut it down to 150, and then on TV, they cut it down to 90 minutes.
That was the one Marty saw. And he still loved it.
Yeah. So, like, we're talking like almost half the movie at that point.
Yeah. That's criminal.
I do know that Pressburger thought that this was their best movie together.
Aww.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about Pressburger, because he was considered an enemy alien during World War II.
Yeah.
And he had to go to the police station once a week. He had to be home by a certain time. All the things that Theo goes through in the movie.
Yeah.
And it just lends this air of, I don't even know the word I'm looking for. It just lends this air of like realness and just pure empathy. And it's beautiful. It's about them. It's essentially about their friendship.
I was about to say how much of these characters are Powell and Pressburger themselves.
One British guy.
Yeah.
Well, Pressburger's Hungarian, but again, he literally, that speech that Theo gives, oh my God. That long shot speech that he gives to some immigration officer.
Yeah.
Trying to like explain why he's in the UK. It's all one shot. And it's just heartbreaking. And knowing that Pressburger wrote that, like going through a similar situation, it's something else. And I think it does lend it this air of like importance, where the Red Shoes or Black Narcissus are very much like, they're incredible, but nothing.
They're fantasias.
They can't be as personal as this. They just can't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, made in the midst of World War II.
Yeah, and Anton Walbrook himself was an Austrian refugee. Like, everyone's been through this, and they're going through it while they're making this movie, and it makes it so good. It makes it so special.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
It really is.
No,
Go ahead. No.
I was going to say this movie has what I look for in movies. First of all, it looks beautiful, and from a technical standpoint, it's like ravishing, right?
Yeah.
Beyond that, there's a great buddy story in the center of this, and there's a great sort of there's a romance, right? It's
like the woman of his life.
The love
right?
of his life.
Yeah.
And I think those components in a movie, when you nail both of those and you get them in the same movie, like, oh, come on. I mean, that's that's what you want to see at the movies, these intense relationships.
Right. And you get it all.
You do.
Do you want to talk about Deborah Kerr?
No. Can we pass her up, please? I think she was a mediocre actress.
Greg is obsessed with Deborah Kerr. He says it all the time. She's like one of his favorite actresses.
Can I just say that I have a huge crush on Deborah Kerr in this movie?
Yeah.
She plays 3 roles. And I think this was still relatively early in her career. She's very
young. She's 20 years old.
Yeah. She's really young here. So, I mean, she's great. Again, I think that the movie kind of uses the idea of her as a more powerful tool than her herself. Like while she does play these 3 roles, she's not really in it that much. Like she kind of pops up at important times, but they're using the memory of her character as this bigger thing.
Yeah.
So it's not like she has like that much to do here, even though she is playing those roles. But yeah, I mean, anything she pops up in, it's like, it's a treat.
I think Edith is probably my favorite character, although I really love Angela. I think Angela is so...
Which one's Edith?
Edith is the first one.
The first one. The real one.
She's a governess. Yeah. She lives in Berlin, and she's really like a pre-suffragette, basically.
Yeah.
And she's just so fierce and... Okay, do you think that... So basically in the story, her and Candy are getting very close. I mean, they're spending all their time together.
He's recuperating
in the hospital, and then Theo comes along. Yeah, the duel is so good.
Yeah, we'll talk about the duel in a second.
There's so much in this movie. I'm actually really worried. It's like almost a 3-hour movie, but so do you think that Theo and her decide to get married? They tell Candy that they're in love and she's going to stay there and be married, but she has feelings for Candy, right? Mm-hmm. And it's all in her face when she's giving him that hug. But he's just playing it off so... Oh my God, I'm so happy for you guys. Which he is. He doesn't realize he has feelings for her until later. And she's kind of heartbroken. Like, you can see it in her face. It's such a tender performance.
You can even see it in his face when Theo tells him that he's in love with her and that they're going to get married, you can see there's a pause in Candy's
I don't think
face.
so. I think the
Really?
pause only comes when she enters the room and he gives her a kiss and hug. It's so sweet.
He had to have known at that point that he had some feelings.
And I love
for
when
her.
I love when they're yelling, they're fighting about the play that they're going to go see in London, but she knows that she's not going to go back to London. So she's getting really like heated about this and she starts crying like, no, I thought it was this play. Ulysses, of course, because he's coming home.
Yeah.
I thought that was hilarious, and the music kind of like climaxes. You think I'm like, what's going on? Like what? But it's so good.
It is.
It's really fantastic. But you know, he's this like one woman guy. You know, like he's this classic hero, I think. One woman all his life, obviously.
Just her.
Obviously.
Yeah.
And he starts seeing her in other women, and he marries his wife because she looks like her.
Even though she's much younger, she's like 20-something years younger.
Yeah. He sees her during World War I. She's a nurse. And yeah, he gets married. You know, it's so funny.
Echoes of Vertigo, honestly.
Yeah, honestly. But it's funny because it's like he has that painting of her, his wife, in his trophy room. And it's so funny. Molly Haskell, the critic, I read an essay she wrote about this movie, and she literally calls her like takes trophy wife to a new extreme because she's literally in the middle of all of his hunting trophies.
Yeah.
Is her portrait, and she really is this kind of society queen wife that he marries, and that character's kind of dull. I mean,
We
can't all
don't
be
really
great.
get to know her that well.
No,
too.
she seems nice, and she has
Yeah.
that great speech about how Germans like wrote such beautiful poetry and music, and yet they like are butchers in times of war.
Yeah.
Do you remember that speech?
Yeah.
Can I play a little bit of it?
Yeah, let's play it.
I was thinking how odd they are. Queer. For years and years, they're writing and dreaming beautiful music and beautiful poetry. All of a sudden, they start a war. They sink undefended ships, shoot innocent hostages, and bomb and destroy whole streets in London, killing little children. And then they sit down in the same butcher's uniform and listen to Mendelssohn and Schubert. Something horrid about that.
Yeah, like really insightful. But no, it's got to be. I mean, Angela's a great character, the driver.
Mm-hmm.
She's fantastic.
I think the only reason, I think at that point the age gap was just too much. I think he would have.
think so.
He probably wanted to marry her too.
Yeah, yeah.
I was just like, no, I'm
And
much older now.
I love how Angela, the driver character, has no romantic relations with any of them. Like she has her own life and her own boyfriend.
Yeah, 'cause she's so much younger. Yeah.
Yeah, and it just adds dimension. Like
Yeah.
I don't know, I really really liked it. And did you know? Okay, so her boyfriend, who is Spud, who is the one that invades the Turkish bath and takes Colonel Blimp prisoner, calls her Candy. He calls her Mata Hari. Do you know what that is?
No.
I didn't. So at first in the beginning of the movie, he's saying, "Oh, I have a date with Mata Hari." I thought it was a real person but it's not. It's Angela. We find out later. So Mata Hari was a Dutch exotic dancer who was killed in World War I for being a spy.
Oh wow.
She was living in France, and she was shot by firing squad for being a spy.
Wow, I didn't know that.
But she's literally an exotic dancer. So yeah,
I guess I wondered that too. I was like, why is he calling? Yeah, okay.
Yeah. But yeah, so this whole thing about she's playing the women in his life, it's one woman that he's idealized this whole time. And he admits it. Like he says, like, yes, I've idealized Edith. And I don't know, the fact that she doesn't age, it reflects this whole theme of the movie, like his traditionalism and his kind of dream of the world and dream of perfection and eternal beauty. And then I love when Theo like brings him back to reality and says, you know, like she aged, we grew up together, we grew old together. Like, yeah, you remember her looking like that, but she didn't look like that.
Isn't that great?
It's so fucking good.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. No, he's like the Jimmy Stewart character in Vertigo if Scotty in Vertigo was not creepy.
exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And he doesn't go, it's funny because Deborah Kerr pops up just looking like Deborah Kerr, where he doesn't have to like make her over like Jimmy Stewart did.
I know, she's the exact same person.
Yeah.
Not even like dyed hair or anything.
Yeah.
But
Slightly
yeah.
different clothes to reflect the time change.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But Theo, man, Theo is...
I mean, look, these are the three leads in this movie are world-class actors.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, there's magic happening here. And Theo doesn't, at the end of the day, like doesn't get that much screen time, right?
Yeah, he does.
I mean, he's gone for like big chunks of the movie. But when you get him, it's like fireworks.
So good.
It's
Like
magic.
there was the biggest smile on my face when they rolled Theo into his room to play cards with him. And
Oh,
I
yeah.
realized, I was like, okay, they're going to be friends. Because they're both smiling. That's the thing. That's what's so great about this movie. They don't try to like put on a face and say, oh, we just dueled each other. Like this is going to be awkward. Like, no, they both realize that duels are stupid.
Yeah.
And now they're just going to play cards. It's,
You know, the woman that wheels him in?
I thought that was his wife.
It's Roger Livesey's wife in real life. Yeah.
I thought it was his wife in the movie. And then I was confused.
I
Like,
thought it
oh.
was too. Like, oh, he fell for Deborah Kerr. Okay.
But yeah, and I think the scene where Candy goes to visit him in the prisoner of war camp, this is like the World War I era. He goes to visit him and he ignores him.
He snubs him.
When Theo snubs him, it's such a moving moment. And Marty Scorsese was saying how that was cut from the version that he saw.
Oh, no.
But it's such an important moment, I think. It's not all cutesy, like, oh, my best friend. No, he's mad and he's upset and he's depressed that his country lost. It's not this person who's just been constricted into the army and didn't want to be. Like, no, he's a soldier who believes in Germany and
Yeah, exactly.
And it's so great because there's that cliche of like, oh yeah, I'm thinking of Jules and Jim, honestly. Of, oh, I don't want to be here, but I just got enlisted. Like I had to go, I got drafted and now I can't be with my best friend from another country. It's like, no, this is what he does.
These are adults.
Yeah.
Yeah. It gives it a layer of complexity that is necessary.
I think so. And yeah, I mean, their whole relationship is Powell and Pressburger.
Yeah. It's a story of two friends.
Aww. Do you think British people were really that nice to the German prisoners of war?
That's a good question. I think in some cases, maybe this movie kind of is a little easy on the British.
People say it's kind of pro-British, and I totally get it. I mean, it doesn't even talk about what the Boer War was and why they were there.
Exactly. But I mean, contrasted to the US, where we have so many fucking super patriotic movies that are so out of line and so over the top.
Right.
Like it's an easy thing for me to forgive, especially considering when it was made.
I think so. I think the main, like the most wonderful thing about this movie is that it is about a German-British relationship during World War II, in the middle of World War II. Made in 1942.
Yeah. Well,
it was released.
I guess
in 43.
it was. Yeah, it was shot in 42. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this is. So let me ask you this. Okay. How would you compare this to something like? What about Citizen Kane? Because I feel like there's some stuff in this movie in terms of spanning this great man's life. And
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah. So what do you think about?
I like this movie more.
well, beyond like. Which one you prefer? Like, isn't it funny how different the two approaches are? Like,
yes, how Citizen Kane is so serious and
yeah, well, and they were released 2 years apart too, so they were like very close.
Right.
Kane came 2 years before this, so yeah, you were
and
saying
Kane
Kane's
is
more
much
serious.
more like pessimistic. Obviously, this movie ends.
It's black.
Happy. I mean,
yeah, Kane is very black.
The thing that's so wonderful about this movie, actually, I mean, I'm not saying this is wonderful about it, but it's like. He so graciously accepts that, like, okay, it's time for me to step down.
At the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, like,
when they're
Kane is really a story about loss.
About someone never realizing that they should step down.
Yeah. And this movie's about loss, too. This movie's definitely about loss.
Yeah.
But it's the fact that he's surrounded by his best friend and people who love him and are loyal to him, that Kane obviously doesn't have.
Yeah.
Because he's kind of he's just not as likable, honestly.
Yeah.
Like,
no, not at all.
Yeah. Okay, so can we talk about the way that it averts things? Like, this movie is very much, first of all, it's called The Life and Death of Colonel Blimp. He doesn't die in the movie. And there's a lot of other things important moments that just aren't shown. And it's such a cool magic trick. I think it works so well.
Some of my favorite movies do that.
Yeah. So, the way it, like, first of all, you don't see the duel, which is the classic shot of it just goes to the ceiling and comes out of the gym and it's snowing.
Let's talk about that because you see all the prep for the duel, right?
And you're building tension,
so even the scene before that where he offends the German officer at this dinner club or whatever by playing the Schubert song or whatever the fuck it is. And so we have that whole setup.
Yeah.
And then we have the duel. We have the prepping for the duel. We have the
All these
ripping of his
rules.
sleeve,
Yeah.
stepping in the resin with your feet, giving them the swords. So you
Yeah.
have all this meticulous prep. And then as soon as they go to start fighting and start dueling, the camera comes up and out of the window and away.
Yeah, because this is a war movie with no fighting in it.
Yeah.
And that shot is so brilliant. And yeah, I mean, there's no battles. There's no battle scenes, and I love it. The World War II, the World War I episode is literally just a night where he's trying to look for something to eat.
Yes,
Like,
I know.
so
I love that.
good.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also the transitions through time are so great. I love. He's fighting Spud, right? In the Turkish bath. This is like the first 5 minutes of the movie.
Oh my God.
And the transition to the
water.
flashback, they go underwater and then he swims out brown-haired and young, and it's just beautiful.
It's so beautiful. Yeah, the camera kind of tracks along this long pool in the Turkish bath.
Yeah, and it's so perfect. He comes out and he's got brown hair and we're in the past.
Yeah.
It's so good.
He's been going to that Turkish bath for a long time.
Yeah. It's I think that's the club, isn't it?
It's the club, yeah.
Yeah. And then the blank wall filling up with trophies.
Well, we'll talk about that in a second.
Yeah. But that's
Not
another
yet,
way
not
it
yet, not yet.
jumps. And then the death of his wife. We never see the death of his wife. It's just a newspaper clipping.
Mm-hmm.
And I like how the clippings are not obituaries. It's him like releasing a statement.
Right.
Because obituaries are so overdone.
What it's doing, it's evading sentimentality, I think.
Yeah. And Murdoch, when his like close friend / butler passes away as well, he does a similar thing.
Yeah.
He like releases a statement saying, "Oh, Murdoch was a great man." Like,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, okay. I was about to take this so off topic. Can I just say that I'm jealous that we don't live somewhere where we have these like great Turkish baths?
I know.
Because I feel like that's something that I would love to take advantage of in my everyday life, but
you can go to a spa here and they'll give you like a Turkish, like I think it's just like a scrub.
no, but I want like
You
I
wanna
want
go to a bathhouse.
walk into this big marble like palatial bath. Like that's what I want. And they don't exist here. It's like a European thing.
There's like when I drive down Beverly, it's some sort of bathhouse, but I'll give you the name.
Yeah, let me know. They just make it look so appealing in this movie.
I know.
Maybe this should even just be called Turkish Bath, the movie.
Perhaps. Let's talk about Candy a little bit. I feel like we haven't talked about him enough.
It's funny because there's so much kind of going on with him, right?
Right.
But at the end of the day, he's kind of used to prove this point, which is tied into the comic strip of him becoming this. It's basically him over time becoming less and less useful. Like his integrity is still there. His heart is still in the right place.
Right.
But at the end of the day, he's not like the right person to be in this war in World War II, right? He doesn't have the right sensibility for it. He's out of touch. And like Spud and his team clearly do know, like they do have the attitude of like taking by surprise. So it's funny because this movie, like where Candy ends up is as the comic strip.
Yeah.
It's him looking at his demolished house.
Yeah. He
And-
says that great line, "The lake is here, I still haven't changed."
Yeah. I love that line.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's a, I think, again, and I saw this a lot on Letterboxd, and I know that this is frequently considered one of the great British films of all time and also one of the most British films.
Yeah.
And I think Candy is such a, not stereotypical, he's like your classic British general, right?
Can I
In
pull-
every sense of the word.
Can I please pull a clip?
Yeah, what clip do you want to pull?
Okay, wait, no, maybe we should wait. Finish your thought.
No, I was just going to say, yeah, that with everything that entails, this movie is basically giving depth to this.
The stereotype.
The stereotype,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. And I think it's like, it's so funny because after he gets that letter that says basically like, "We don't need you for World War II," Theo's talking to him and he's telling him like, "I've been telling you this for a long time now." And Candy says, I know what war is. And Theo goes, I don't think you do. And it's so funny because like we actually haven't seen him fight at all.
Yeah.
So we don't know if he knows, you know? I just thought it was so funny, but
Like when his talk gets canceled.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's so funny. So like I don't think that this man knows what hate is.
I don't think so either.
I don't think he does. I think that this is a job to him and he just does his job. And then, I mean, he's heroic. He's a gentleman. He's not too sensitive, but he's not like obnoxiously manly, you know? Like I really like his character and it's not stereotypical. If it was stereotypical, he'd be like, I'm boxing all day and I'm going to go, and we'd see him like shoot a bunch of animals. Granted, we see his like trophies and stuff.
Yeah, we do.
But I don't know. I don't think that he's really stereotypical until maybe the end.
No, yeah. But they're taking that stereotype, right? And like just breathing, making it a person, adding flesh and blood. It's like the attic scene in Hellraiser where it's a skeleton and all this flesh and blood is being added. I'm saying because you understand the reference because you're a big Hellraiser fan. But
and I think that his point is so beautiful. Like I think that the point of this movie is so beautiful. I think that
absolutely
the message of peace and friendship, it's a message of peace, but it's also made in the middle of World War II. So it's like, wake up, you actually have to like really fight for the things that you value. And yeah, you're gonna have to get rid of your ideals. Like this is war, but at the same time, it's a story of peace. Like
it is.
I don't know.
I know
it's fantastic.
It's complicated.
Yeah.
It honestly breaks my heart at the end of this movie.
It really breaks my heart.
Because he's so taken aback. He just doesn't understand how this war could be so different.
Yeah.
And it just goes against everything that he stands for and everything that he is.
Yeah.
It honestly makes me really sad.
I'm getting really emotional right now. Okay, you said he's like super British, right? So there's this phenomenon, and we've talked about this before. It happens when you're watching a British film or TV show like Downton Abbey, and an American character comes along and it just sounds wrong. Like they just sound awkward,
Is
bad.
he an American in this?
Yeah. Do you remember? Okay, the night that he's trying to find food, he finds this like American outpost. They're like,
oh yeah,
they're dealing with trains and transportation, right?
Yeah.
So he has this conversation with like one of the guys, and of course they're so crass, and they're like, "What do you want?" Like he walks in, and they're like, "What do you want?" And he's like, "I am General Candy." Like he's so, you know. And of course the Americans are like stupid and whatever. But so he says this, and this is one of my favorite parts of the movie. You don't know what I'm talking about, huh?
No.
Oh my god, it's so
I
good.
forget what he says, yeah.
It's so good.
Now, where can I get some grub?
Crown of Thorns is good for a handout at almost any hour.
What is it, a pub?
Pub, sir? I don't get you.
Oh, dash it, we don't speak the same language. A cafe.
Oh, dash it. That's
Cafe.
one of my favorite things he says. But yeah, this phenomenon, I'm gonna write a whole book about it, how American English sounds so wrong in British movies.
Yeah, it does. Because you get used to it.
Yeah.
And then it's like very musical, and then
I first noticed it on Downton, like the episodes that Shirley MacLaine comes.
Yeah.
Love her to death. But
Yeah.
just sounds wrong.
yeah, it does.
I love dash it. He says something else. He says like gad, not God. He says GAD.
That comes from the comic strip. Yeah.
He says it all the time.
Yeah. It's so funny. It's almost as if, like, let's say a movie was made now. Let's take, like, I mean, comic strips aren't even really popular anymore. But if you took something like Garfield, right? And then instead you made it a movie about, like, this guy that's not a cat. That like actually just like lives this just like a, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
But then
he lives this kind of sedentary life, and he just loves lasagna.
But yeah, you gave
he
him
goes-
some Garfield
yeah.
like traits.
Maybe he has red hair.
Yeah.
You could play.
I
him.
could be him. Yeah, sign me up.
Yeah, but that's exactly what this is.
Yeah, it's funny what they choose to give him from the comic strip. Yeah, it's almost reminiscent of Robert Altman's Popeye.
Perhaps.
No, not really.
Movie that should be on the list.
Should be on the list.
Yeah, we also didn't talk about this, but Michael Powell and Deborah Kerr like fell in love during this movie.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
They were together.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. For how long, do you know?
I don't know, but I was watching. So if you guys didn't know this, I didn't know this until today. Thelma Schumacher, who is Martin Scorsese's editor, was married to Michael Powell.
Mm-hmm.
And she has this video also on the Criterion about talking about this movie. And she talked about how Michael, like this movie made Michael very sad because he just remembered Deborah Kerr. Like he was just like, it's kind of like a love letter to her.
Oh
like,
no.
Yeah. And yeah, his wife is saying this. Like, but she's
that
so
is beautiful,
cool.
though.
Like
Yeah.
Thelma Schumacher.
Yeah, how could Thelma be jealous of Deborah Kerr?
Right.
I mean, you can't even get mad at Deborah Kerr.
I know. She's such a gem. She's really
Yeah.
a gem.
She is. You've heard it here first, guys.
You heard it here first. There was this actress. Her name was Deborah Kerr. She was great.
You have to see The Innocents. You have
Yeah,
to, I know I keep I'm sorry. I don't want to be that person.
I know. I have to see it. I love her. I really do.
Yeah, she's so good.
You have to see An Affair to Remember.
That's right. I have not seen that.
You would love
It's her
it.
and Cary Grant, right?
Yeah, and they're
Oh,
so,
my God.
so great together.
Yeah.
That's such a comfort movie for me. Like, really a comfort movie. It's so good.
Is that Leo McCarey?
I don't remember.
I think it is. Yeah, I need to see that.
It's good.
Yeah, let's go into Sight and Sound.
Okay.
So what was your favorite sight?
Okay, mine is when Angela, this is in the third stage of the movie, World War II now, which is really the present for this movie, is driving Theo home or driving him back to wherever he's staying. He's just come to the UK and he's an enemy alien, and she's driving him home, and it's like the moment right before he notices that she looks just like Edith.
You want to know what's funny?
You chose that too?
This was like my second choice, yeah.
Because you know why? It's the traffic lights that reflect on her face.
Yes,
She's like,
yes.
do you mind if I make this? And it's green and you can see because it's reflecting on her face, and she speeds up and then it turns yellow and she's like, damn it. And she stops and it's red on her face. It's so good. I've never seen traffic lights used so effectively. I really haven't.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Yeah, it's so good.
That's my favorite sight. And then he kind of leans in. So like there's a really beautiful, I know I'm cheating, but it's like right after there's a beautiful shot of like her profile when she's like, this light is taking forever. And it like zooms in and he realizes it's just so sweet.
It is. Yeah, because this is right after Candy has just told him that he always loved her.
Yeah.
Yeah. My favorite sight was, it's funny because this movie is so full, and that was literally my second choice. And that's the more like emotionally affecting one. But there's so many great transitions in this movie.
Yeah.
Like you were talking about in the Turkish bath, like they go underwater and then you pan down the water and then he comes out young. My favorite, and again, it seems silly, but I remember the first time I saw this, I was really taken aback by it, was the hunting montage scene. So like,
yeah, that time
the
is
time
passing.
passing from 1902 to like 1918.
Yeah.
It's literally just, he's off hunting and you're seeing, it's done in this way. You're in his trophy room and you're just seeing all these animal heads added to the wall. And each one, it's like a smash cut and you hear a shotgun blast.
Yeah.
And it's such a simple thing. But for 1943,
Yeah.
the fact that that's how you showed the passing of time, beautiful, beautiful. Count me in. And guess what? Unlike Jean Renoir, we don't have to see these animals get shot.
Right.
We don't-
Right.
So
Yeah, Jean
thumbs up.
Renoir, who claimed that he hated killing and he hated hunting. No, I totally agree. And I think it's so funny that, like, okay, Citizen Kane was made what?
41.
Okay, so it's
2
I mean,
years
it's like,
before this.
but people love to talk about how time passes in Citizen Kane. That famous breakfast scene. Like, we've heard about it a million times.
Well,
no
that's
one
great, too.
talks about okay, but
Yeah.
no one talks about this.
Well, because more people have seen Citizen Kane.
I know, but I think that it's fantastic. Like, I think that it's so underrated. I think if more people saw this movie,
It happens twice, too. You also get it between World War I and World War II.
that and the bath, I think that bath transition is so cool.
Yeah.
No one talks about it. It's all about that damn breakfast table in Citizen Kane. Drives me crazy.
That's still a good scene, though, in Citizen Kane.
It is, but it's just like, I think I've just heard about it so much and people have talked about it so much.
Yeah, you have
that
this
it's just-
thing where, like, if it's been embraced too many times or, like, film bros like it, then you can't like it.
I do. What's your favorite sound?
My favorite sound, again, it was against, there was two runners up here.
I have two too, because there's so many good lines in this movie.
So I'll say my second place. We don't need to pull this one, but it's essentially when Candy tells Theo that he never got over her. And it's that whole speech of
Yeah.
he always loved her and she's dead now. And her and Theo lived this whole life together and he hadn't seen her since. So that was a runner-up for me. But my real one, again, it's just cutting it down to the simple, just the basics.
Yeah.
Is at the end of their stay in the hospital with Theo and Candy, because there's this whole joke that's been set up that Theo can only say very much and very much and not very much, right?
Yeah.
And that's the only English he knows. And so at the end, when they're leaving, he says,
Clive, my English is not very much, but my friendship for you is very much.
and that's it for me. That's it.
So good. I have two favorite sounds as well. The first one is kind of obvious. It's when the birds are chirping when World War I is over.
Okay, yeah, great moment.
Should I play it?
Yeah.
You know, I did so much work. I'm going to freaking play it. So it's basically like he gets a telegram saying that the war is over. And then like literally in that moment, like the bombs stop and the birds start chirping. And it's just, I mean, come on. Like, come on. I don't know. There's no way to talk about this movie without sounding really redundant. I keep saying like, it's so good. But like, it is. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just really peaceful. So I think that's second because my number one favorite sound. It is when Candy and his soon-to-be wife, Barbara, are on a bench outside her very, again, Downton Abbey-like home.
Mm-hmm.
And they're talking about why they love each other, why they're getting married. And here is one thing she says that really struck a chord with me.
I'm marrying you because I love watching you play polo.
Oh my God, what a Jackie line.
I'm marrying you because I love watching you play polo.
Again, something we never see him do.
Exactly, but it's such a British
Yeah.
love. Like she's like whispering it in his ear. It's the most British thing I've ever heard in my life.
It's turning him on too, I think.
Oh, yeah. Let me tell you something. When I was young, I had a really big obsession with Prince Harry. I thought that he was my Prince Charming.
Which one is he?
He's the ginger one.
Is he the bald one?
They're all bald.
Oh, yeah.
He's the one married to Meghan Markle.
Okay,
He's the
yeah.
cool
I
one.
get 'em
Come
mixed
on.
up.
Like he was the cool
Wait,
one. He was
Harry
the bad
and-
one. William.
That's right. Okay.
I was
Continue.
very obsessed.
Mm-hmm.
Like I really thought, okay, I'm going to marry this man one day and I'm going to be part of the British family. Like I really, really thought that. And there were these photos of him playing polo. Like there were a bunch, he used to play polo all the time and he looked so cute. And I used to think it was the cutest thing ever. Like this man plays polo. So I really loved that line. I thought it was so funny and so British.
Cool. That's such a Jackie
You didn't
pick.
see that coming?
It's such a Jackie pick.
I had to pause when she said that. I paused the movie. I was like, "Oh my God."
As I was watching this, I was like, what is the ridiculous line that Jackie's going to pick?
Well, I'm glad I didn't disappoint you.
Yeah, you didn't.
What does, and please tell me she does.
No.
Fuck.
So this is where we normally do a Pauline Kael segment where we read Pauline Kael's review for the movie, but this came out in 1943. All I know is I pulled a quote from her on, I think this was specifically pertaining to Michael Powell, but this is what
Okay.
she said. She said he is, in quotes, a master purveyor of high kitsch. Which blows my mind. Pauline, what the fuck? What the fuck?
We started this podcast loving Pauline Kael, and the deeper we get into it, I feel like the more she doesn't line up with our taste. It's so bad.
Yeah, I mean, come on. Okay, you know what? If she's talking about like a matter of life and death or something, I get that. So
Interesting.
yeah,
So she's not really that big of a fan.
that's not okay. Pauline, what the fuck?
Yeah, that's disappointing.
That's very disappointing.
How can you truly love movies and not think that these are like out of this world?
Agree.
Anyway, should we get into Letterboxd? We're about to find out.
Yeah,
All right.
I've got a 1 star here. And
Okay.
there weren't that many one or
We
even
might
2 stars.
overlap because there
Yeah.
really weren't that many.
Someone said, one of my least favorite reviews of anything is when people say it's boring. Something cannot be entertaining and still have a lot of intellectual value, deep themes, and a lot of influence to consider. This movie is boring.
No. Okay, 2 stars. It has great performances and dialogue and breathtaking cinematography and blah, blah, blah. And the runtime didn't even bother me. This just isn't the kind of story I have much interest in. If you enjoy reminiscent romantic films set during wartime and aren't bothered by British people, you should definitely check this out.
God, there's so many people.
I do prefer The English Patient, but that's because of the Colin Firth factor, which is arguably the most important factor to consider when evaluating
in
any
that?
film. Yeah, he has I haven't seen that movie in so long. He's like,
I've never seen it.
he's in it, but he's very young, like very young. 2.5 stars. I fell asleep.
Someone gave it a 1.5 stars and said, about as bland as British food.
I saw that. Damn it. I really wanted to say that one. That made me laugh out loud. This one's a good review, but it was funny. It's 4 stars. This is the greatest cinematic argument in favor of mustaches.
Yeah, he pulls it off. As I consider getting rid of mine.
Yep.
Someone said 2.5 stars. Does for Colonel Blimp cartoons what Rob Zombie's Halloween did for John Carpenter's, except this one thinks it successfully executes its Angel of Death. It doesn't, but it does try very prettily. Okay, let's talk about Rob Zombie's shitty Halloween movie.
3 stars. Insufferably British. You know that whole pip pip cheerio old chap thing that always manages to rub me the wrong way.
I saw that one.
And I don't know why. This was 3 stars. Maybe because that portrayal doesn't seem to ring true, as if the actors are playing caricatures. Whatever, the rest of this isn't that important, but I just thought that was funny, the pip pip cheerio.
This is a longer review, and I'm just going to read the first 2 sentences, but it's a 2.5 star, and they say, the life and death of Colonel Blimp must be one of the worst titles for a movie ever made. It reads like something out of an ancient school book. What? What the fuck?
Oh my God. 3 stars. This satirized but ultimately redeemed model of violent nationalistic masculinity here was too much for me. But Anton Walbrook is everything. Violent?
Everything. No, it's not violent at all.
It's like kind of anti-violent.
Absolutely. Someone gave it 2.5 stars and said, wow, what a production. I didn't really like it, but man, I'm sure this was a big, important film for somebody at some point. Lots of exclamation points. Not me, but wow, did he sure put some animal heads on walls. Goodness.
I saw that. That was hilarious. 3.5 stars. Me thinks I have a problem because I'm more attracted to Theo in the 40s than him in the 20s.
That's that silver fox look, right?
You know, I didn't think his hair dye was that good, to be honest.
Yeah. Someone gave it 2.5 and said, this film was pretty black and white for a Technicolor film.
What? 2.5 stars. Super boring, but some close-ups of Deborah Kerr saved my life. Saved my life.
That's intense.
Okay, one more Deborah Kerr one. 3.5 stars. Deborah Kerr wears so many amazing hats that Rosalind Russell must have done a double take when she saw this movie. I'm glad people like Deborah Kerr so much.
I mean, I've never come across anyone who doesn't like Deborah Kerr.
Me neither.
Although The King and I is trash. But moving on. Getting to know you. That's the only good song. That's it.
You're wrong.
That's it.
The songs are great. The movie's okay. The songs are great. And their dance, their Shall We Dance is some of the most, it's so sexy, that dance. What? That dance is sexy.
In the movie version?
Yeah.
No.
He like throws her off and is like frustrated at himself and then just like grabs her waist and they start dancing again. It's hot.
Yul Brynner?
Yeah, he's in some pretty bad makeup, but like it's hot. The sexual tension is there and they're dancing, ballroom dancing.
Yeah, I don't know. She was definitely doing that one for the paycheck, that's for sure.
I don't think it's that bad of a movie. Last thoughts on the life and death of Colonel Blimp.
This is a treasure.
I think so too.
This is one of many treasures in the Powell and Pressburger line of films.
I've only seen 3 films of theirs, and it's like each time I see one, I'm just like, I can't wait for the next one. Like, I just can't wait.
Yeah.
But I feel like I got the big 3 out of the way, and now the rest of them are going to be good, but maybe not as good.
Well, these are the big 3, but then they have lots of others. Like the Matter of Life and Death is still really big. Tales of Hoffman. They did Tales of Hoffman. Well, it's funny. You know what Michael Powell is known for doing solo, right? Peeping Tom. You know Peeping Tom from the 60s?
No.
It's this kind of proto-slasher horror movie where this guy with a camera goes around that has like this long spear at the end, and he takes pictures of people and stabs them.
Oh my God.
It's this famous, again, I think it's Criterion also, but
Wow.
Michael Powell, it was a solo effort, and he's almost as well known for that as he is for like the Red Shoes and stuff.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, I haven't seen it.
So I think it's just another excuse for your continuing foray into the horror genre.
I think if you like movies, I think that you will like this movie. That sounds really
Guaranteed.
stupid, but like really, you were saying this has everything you want from a movie, and I agree.
Yeah. It does. Wait, did I say that?
You did. You said it's like a buddy movie, but it's also
yeah, I
like
did.
this
I did.
epic
Yeah,
years-long romance kind of, and it's funny, but it's also serious and has really serious themes. And
yeah, it almost is everything you could want from a movie. I think too. I think if you are into movies, this is kind of like a buffet of just like all good stuff all in one place, right? It's like going to the nice buffet, not the shitty casino buffet.
yeah, and it's also not like
This is like a Mario Batali buffet. That guy's a piece of shit.
this is the Win buffet, okay?
I've never been.
I haven't either, but it's just really nice. Yeah.
This isn't some Reno buffet, okay? Well, what's the movie next week? I think
2001?
it is 2001. This little movie, maybe you've heard of it.
All right. Thank you for joining.
Yeah, had a blast this week.
Join us next week for 2001: A Space Odyssey.
See you guys then.
Bye.
Seen and Heard is presented by the Arroyo Film Club. Produced by and starring Greg Kleinschmidt and Jacqueline Pistachian. Edited by Greg Kleinschmidt. Music by Andrew Cox. Special thanks to Kathryn Ferentchak.